Good evening, everyone. Happy Saturday, December 9th, 2023. Welcome to round 3 of our Mixed Class Endurance Cup, brought to you by 5FIRacing.com, playing on Assetto Corsa Competizione. If you're just joining us for the first time in our broadcasting, this is a series where we race for 90 minutes with 3 classes all on the track at the same time: GT3, GT4, Porsche Cup. So if you are looking for that type of racing, come join us. We have plenty of spots open and plenty of races left. This will be the last race of this year, since this is a race that happens on the second Saturday of every month, and it'll go well into next summer. So plenty of time to register and come race with us. Tonight we are in Zolder, which I believe is in Belgium. This is about a 60-year-old track, about just under 2.5 miles, 2.4 miles, or 4 kilometers, 10 turns. And we are just starting the qualifying. So with this series, what we do is we try and separate the GT3, GT4, Porsche Cup, or really GT3 and then GT4 and Porsche Cup qualifying sessions separately. So it is a longer qualifying session, it's about 20 minutes total, and we try and enforce GT3 drivers to stay, excuse me, get their qualifying done within the first 10 minutes of the qualifying session. And then when that 10 minutes is up, we ask that they hang out in the pits and allow the GT4 and Porsche Cup drivers to finish their qualifying sessions. So that's what we'll be trying to do today. It is a self-regulated thing, so we're going to see how everyone follows along with that. We have about 12 drivers tonight, which is a little low. I was expecting a few more. There was about 20-some drivers that signed up for this, so we're a little over half capacity, but it is the holiday season, so I'm sure people have a lot going on right now for the Christmas season. Since it's a mixed class event, and if you're watching and you're not used to that type of stuff, if you look at the tower on the top left of your screen where it has the driver names, their positions, if you notice the blue triangle or blue marker next to the position number, next to the name of the driver, that indicates a GT4 class. And if you see a green triangle or a green marker there, that's a Porsche Cup class. And if there is no color next to the name or number, that is GT3. So that's how you can tell them apart, even though they will be qualifying for their overall starting position on the overall grid. They're only racing each other in their associated class. So GT3s are only racing against other GT3 drivers, GT4, Porsche Cup, and so on, which means the GT3 drivers, being the faster cars on the track generally, hardware-wise anyway, they have to safely pass the GT4 and Porsche Cup drivers. So it adds a little bit of a challenge, makes the racing a little bit more exciting. And this is something that's kind of unique to this style of motorsports racing. And the slower drivers, GT4 and Porsche Cup, are not obligated to move out of the way. So they can continue racing on their line as they see fit. Since this is only once a month, this is only round 3, so we have some interesting point situations going on because we have a lot of new drivers that have not been in our previous races that don't really have a whole lot of points accumulated quite yet. Now these races, as I said, are 90 minutes. It's kind of like a miniature endurance race, not multiple hour or anything like that, but it's a little bit longer than a 60-minute sprint race. There is no mandatory pit stop, so it is possible to finish the 90 minutes without a pit stop if you're good at managing fuel and tires. But if a pit stop is required, you're welcome to take it, just not required for the race. So we have about 3.5 minutes left for the GT3 drivers. And I think all of them so far have clocked a time, I believe. Oh no, there's one more. I think Albert has yet to log a time. But other than that, everyone else has already logged their qualifying time. Looks like the fastest today is going to be, so far anyway, is Kyle Busch with, nope, I take that back, with a second. As soon as I said that, Albert went ahead and beat Kyle Busch's fastest qualifying time by 0.2 of a second with a 1:29.4. So that'll put him in the pole position. And Albert's been racing with us in our GT3 series, so this is a once a month, second Saturday of every month event. We also have a weekly GT3 only class series called the Founders League that we do every Thursday night, U.S. Central Time, around 9 p.m. Central. Still spots available in that series if you want to come join. Plenty of opportunities to get some good racing in. And there's plenty of rounds left on that one too. We're in season 4 on that series right now. So Kyle is currently beating his previous best. Probably not enough to take over Albert's spot, but their pace is pretty close. So it'll be good to watch them. Little issue with Jeff Kelly there as he gets towed back to the pits. But I think Jeff is happy with that position, starting in P3. That's not bad at all, honestly, for a 90-minute race. I probably wouldn't be upset about that. So now, all of the GT3 drivers have clocked their qualifying time, and Kyle's attempting to improve upon his, but he's got less than a minute left to finish, so hopefully GT3 drivers behave themselves and get themselves into the pit here, and we'll start seeing the GT4 and Porsche Cup drivers here in a little bit. So this isn't a super long race tonight, but it is a little bit longer than a sprint race, so if you're relaxing and watching the race with me tonight, feel free to drop into chat and ask questions about the league or the type of racing we do or the game, or feel free to interact with us live. We do enjoy that. Okay, 5 seconds left, Kyle. Let's see if Kyle and Albert behave themselves and get their cars off the track here. Looks like he's coming to a stop, and I can hear the Porsche Cup cars spinning up already. Okay, so he's getting off the track. Okay, so that does it for GT3. Here we go for 10 minutes to qualify for the Porsche Cup driver and the GT4 drivers. There's only 4 of those guys total tonight, 2 in each class. And Will Stewart, one of our league founders, is a big fan of the Porsche Cup car, so any chance he gets to compete in a series in this class, he sure jumps on that as soon as he can. And he's joined by Sam Staples, and we'll take a look in just a minute when the qualifying is done. We'll have some time to take a look at the points just to catch the viewers up on where everyone stands, because I believe we have a two-way tie for first place in the Porsche Cup, so it'll be interesting. And Sam has really gotten comfortable with this car and continues to just really throw it around the track. So we should get to see him and Will, as long as they keep it on the track, that is. But they're just getting warmed up. We only had 40 minutes to practice, so I'm not sure how much time these drivers practiced outside of that, or if they just used the 40-minute server practice time. So I think everyone's probably still dusting the cobwebs off just a bit. With about 7.5 minutes to go, we still do not have a good qualifying time yet for these guys. Now they'll probably still start in the back of the grid, most likely. Well, I take that back, actually. It's extremely likely that the Porsche Cup drivers might be a little bit faster than some of the GT3 drivers, not because the car is faster, but because we have some pretty quick Cup car drivers here in this league. And I just do want to mention my appreciation for the GT3 drivers of getting their cars off the track when their allotted time was up. Appreciate that, guys. I do appreciate this league when they are asked to self-regulate. They do a great job at that. So if that's the type of racing you enjoy, good, clean racing, honest fun, come check us out at 5fi-racing.com. We'll leave it up there in the bottom left corner of your screen if you want to come. And there's not, a ton to see at the website. The whole idea is just to be a landing page to sort of springboard you into our various different communication channels, where you can go straight to SimGrid, is where we sort of organize our races and do the signups and points and all the standings and everything like that. So you're welcome to go straight there. But if you want to come into our Discord channel and hang out with us, everything you need is on the website there, 5fi-racing.com. And as I mentioned, this is the last race in this series of 2023, so this will be our Christmas race. Yep, Merry Christmas to everyone across the world who's watching. We will see you all after the New Year, 2024, and second Saturday in January, where we will be. Let's take a peek where we are in the next race. I think for this series, we'll be back in America, in specifically Austin, Texas, at the Circuit of the Americas on January 13th. So that'll be the first mixed class endurance race of the new year. And you can see right there, Will Stewart already crawling up into overall P6 in his Porsche Cup class. Looks like we have a little bit of a think he chose to take a dive there, so I'm not sure if that was an accident or if he's just trying to get out of the way. Either way, that's not a bad position to start in, because really, he's only going to be technically racing against Sam Staples, who... Where's he at? Yeah, it doesn't look like Sam has gotten a clean lap in yet. So hopefully he gets that taken care of, because we got 4 minutes left in qualifying. And that'll be the end of that. Or maybe he just wants to make it interesting and pass some GT4 drivers while he's hanging out. So this track is interesting because it's a little chicane section where the fastest line is to almost cut it, but it's extremely easy to get a track limit warning there, and so we might see some drive-throughs for track limits tonight. Tend to see that a lot on this track. Three minutes left in qualifying. Looks like Rick Tonkin, who we're watching here right now, actually is the only driver left that has not clocked a clean qualifying lap. But I wouldn't really worry about it too much. If I was him, being a GT4 driver, you're better off just starting from the back, because he's only racing against his brother there, Simon Tonkin, who's just ahead of him. Oh, there's that chicane I was telling you about. Looks like Sam had a little struggle there. He was able to improve his position, so he's just a couple spots behind Will, so he doesn't have a whole lot of work to do there. But let's see if Rick gets a clean lap in here before the time expires. Won't make too much of a difference for his race, to be honest, but it'll probably just feel good to get a clean lap in. Okay, there we go. 141.3 for Rick. Almost a second behind his brother, Simon, with a 140.6. And those are the two GT4 drivers. So if you're just joining us, I explained earlier, but I'll probably throw it in there every so often along the race in order to tell on the tower there at the top left, what class a driver is in. The blue marker next to the driver name indicates a GT4 class. The green marker indicates Porsche Cup class, and the lack of a colored marker indicates GT3. So we do have a lot more GT3 drivers tonight. Alright, less than a minute left. And we will get this mini endurance race started. So I see a Matt Smith in the GT3 class there. I wonder if that's the Matt Smith that has raced with us in the past. If so, welcome back, Matt. It's good to see you on the grid. If it's a different Matt, welcome to the league. And I don't think I see any other new names, although Chris Russell potentially is a new name. I'm not sure I recognize that name. Okay. So that does it for qualifying. At this point, Rick's probably going to finish up his lap. He doesn't look like he'll be able to improve upon his starting position at all, but This is where the drivers will sort of fine-tune their setups for the race. Make sure their engine maps are set right. Make sure their tires are nice and fresh. And the fuel situation will be interesting. You know, we have some drivers that choose to just top it off and just go until they absolutely have to stop for fuel. Some drivers like to take it easy on the tires and fuel and make it all the way through 90 minutes without any stops. And some drivers like to go as hard as they possibly can, tear up their tires, but conserve, no, not conserve fuel, actually, just sort of splash and dash at the end. So here's a little animation of Zolder here. So that's the chicane there that they just went through that we'll probably see some, no, actually both of those chicanes will probably see some potential track cut warnings there. It's not a super long track, so that means that because of the mixed class nature, we'll have a lot of drivers that will be having to deal with lap traffic, you know, the slower classes and all and whatnot. All right, pretty soon here. All right, so as promised, we'll go ahead and go over the points here. So here's the current GT3 standings as of round 3. And you can see Jacob Myrie here, one of the league regulars who races in almost every series we have, has been present in every race so far. And so because of that, he is leading with 26 points. And then you see there Albert in second, who clocked the fastest qualifying time with 17 points. So he's got a little bit of gap to catch up on with Jacob. And then Bruno, who I have not seen in a while, so I'm not sure if he forgot about the race or decided not to do it tonight. They're in third place with 12 points. Kyle and Jeff tie for 5th, really. So we'll see some movement there since they're both in the race tonight. So, oh, and of course Greg Landry is also in tonight's race. Wait, yes, yeah, absolutely. So he qualified in P5. So so Kyle, Jeff, and Greg will watch closely there because they're real close, neck and neck. And the GT4 class, where we have the Tonkin brothers, real close, with Simon in first with 28 points, his brother Rick and a close second with 25 points, and then James Fuller, who we have not seen since the first race, with tied with this James Reed, 17 points. So since Rick and Simon are the only GT4 drivers in the race tonight, we'll keep an eye on them because they're real close in points, so they'll be battling. And as mentioned earlier, we have the Porsche Cup class with Sam and Will pretty much neck and neck, tied for first place, 17 points. So that'll be an interesting one to watch as well. So it is a short formation, which that was requested by the drivers, but now in hindsight, I think it probably would have been better for a race like this to have a long formation lap. So I think I will probably change that for the future races coming up. Regardless, we'll go ahead and go through.
Green light, give it all you can.
All right, here we go. And the 90-minute race has begun. Kyle Busch stepping out right in front to take the lead right away. Did see a yellow for... Let's see, there's an accident. Looks like it right at the beginning. Let's just do a replay real quick and see how what that looked like there. Just take a look right at the beginning. See if we can figure out what happened. Oh, okay, yeah, alright, so we'll have the stewards look at that. That's definitely not good. So back to the race, where Kyle and Albert are already battling for first. And Jeff right there behind Jacob, with Will hot on his tail in the Porsche Cup. Remember, guys, you got 90 minutes here, so just keep it clean on this first lap. Alright, Kyle and Albert. Things are heating up already in the GT3 class between Kyle Busch and Albert. And we change this to race gas. There we go. So that's a little bit better. So looks like Jeff got around Jacob for P3. And Albert is real close to trying to get by Kyle. Hopefully Kyle holds it together here, because Kyle is a super fast GT3 driver in our league, but sometimes he just has some bad luck with the curbs. And so if he can hold it together tonight, he's going to give Albert a run for his money. So I'll do my best as we broadcast tonight. I'll do my best to try and put the camera on the best racing at the moment, but it can be difficult when there's a lot of different battles going on at the same time. Okay, Will was real close to getting around Jacob. He couldn't quite make it. Looks like Sam got around Simon. And look at that, Will. At the top of your screen, if you notice, Will Stewart just clocked the fastest lap so far. We're only 2 laps in, but considering that Will is in a Porsche Cup car, he's already the fastest one on the track. I'm sure that will change as the night goes on, but that is a really good testament as to Will Stewart's driver's skill level. I think Will in a Porsche Cup car can definitely hold his own against any GT3 driver that I've come across. Let's check back in at the back of the pack with Chris and Rick. Let's see, Chris is... Oh, that's GT3, so they're not really... They're battling for overall position, but not for class position, so... Let's head back to the front with Kyle and Albert. This is going to be a heated battle for quite a while. So here's that chicane with the nasty curb. Kyle held the wheel nice and tight. Held it together very well there. Alright, so there's Kyle Busch retaking the... And then, so Kyle Busch retaking the fastest lap lead, and then immediately behind him, Albert with a 1:30.0. So technically, Albert has a little bit quicker pace than Kyle. So as long as Kyle holds on to his pace, hold on to his lines, and continues to defend, Albert's gonna have a real tough time getting by him. Oh man, Kyle almost got that Audi off the ground in that chicane. Not sure if he got any track warnings there or not. There's, right here, it is that chicane that I was trying to talk about earlier, where it's super easy to get a penalty for track warnings. So it is clear skies today, 25 degrees Celsius, no rain in the forecast, but I do believe the sun should be going down. So I think by the end of the race, we'll start to see some conditions change in terms of light. While we switch over here to Jacob and Will. Oh, and then switch back to Kyle because Albert almost. Oh, and then Kyle retook. Oh, that's funny. So, yeah, you can see right there at the top of your screen, Kyle and Albert are just trading blows with the fastest lap. And what does it matter who has the fastest lap? If you are curious, we do award in our league, we do award the fastest lap an extra point. So it definitely helps to get your overall points as we see Greg get around Will there, which is interesting. I wasn't expecting. I wonder if Will had a little issue there. Okay, let's check in on the Tonkin brothers in the GT4 class. Let's turn this off. Okay, there we go. There's too many battles going on. It's gonna be real tough to stay. Okay, so the gap increased there. Let's go back over. Oh no, I see Greg in the wall. Let's see if we can figure out what happened there. Greg, what happened? Oh, okay. Ah, that's a bummer. Alright, so we have Greg Landry here, and you can tell they're both in a Porsche. It's going to be a little bit hard to tell them apart, but Greg Landry here that we're in P8 is in a GT3, the Porsche GT3, and behind him is Sam Staples in the Porsche Cup GT3, or Porsche GT3 Cup. I'm actually not sure which is more appropriate, but different class Porsche cars. Not a whole lot of difference between the two cars, except for some downforce, I believe. I think the powertrain there is mostly the same. However, if you're watching on the chat, you can feel free to correct me on that one. I may be wrong on that. Alright, so the gap increased there a bit. We'll go back over to Albert and Kyle as they continue to battle it out for P1. They got a really good battle going. I think they're probably loving this right now, having a ton of fun. Kyle's doing a really good job keeping that Audi under control over the curves and defending those lines. Even though Albert has a slightly quicker pace, he's not quite fast enough to easily get by Kyle there. And it's getting hot right now. Oh, I don't want to move away, but we do have other battles going. We have Greg Landry just got by Matt Smith. And Sam just got by Matt Smith as well around turn 1. Alright, nice work there, boys. Keeping it clean. Checking back in on the race leaders. Oh, let's go back to Landry, see what's going on there. We got Landry and Mike Freund. I believe we've seen that name in our GT3 class this season. So Greg and Mike are both in the GT3 class, and they will be fighting for position. It looks like Mike had a little bit of issue there through the chicane, but it wasn't enough to lose position. I think Greg is choosing to wait for the perfect opportunity to pass, considering we have an hour and about 20 minutes, just under 20 minutes left to go in this race, so we do not want to make any risky moves just yet. It could cost you the entire race by just not waiting for that right time to pass. So that's the fun of these longer races, I think, is just finding that right opportunity to pass, especially when you have to worry about other traffic on the track. And the battle is still heated between these guys in the same car. Same car, same class. Points-wise, I don't think Greg has too much to worry about here, as we saw earlier, but that does not matter when you're racing. All that matters is making those passes. Meanwhile, Sam is taking advantage of these guys battling it out and closing the gap to Greg in his Cup car. Unfortunately, Sam has a lot of ground to catch up to Will on, because Will and Sam are the only ones in the Cup class that are actually fighting for position between each other, so it'll be interesting to see what pit strategy Will and Sam have chosen here, because I believe that Will would rather avoid the pits at all costs if he can, so he will probably do everything he can to finish this 90-minute race without having to make a stop, which will make him really difficult to pass, because Sam's not going to be able to rely on the pits to shake things up here. So we'll switch over here to Chris Russell. We haven't seen much from him tonight as he attempts to get around Simon Tonkin. Meanwhile, we still have Kyle and Albert battling up there in the front, so I'll try and keep one eye on that while we watch this. Oh, so we got around, but he lost control, went off the track. But considering that GT3 car is a lot faster on the straights, he shouldn't really have a problem passing there. Alright, so let's take another peek at race leaders. They're holding it together really well. Both of these guys maintaining excellent control of their GT3 cars. And Kyle is doing really well at defending Albert. Oh, Kyle must have spent some setup time on this Audi, because normally those curves are a death blow, but it seems to be doing really well. So he probably made some improvements to maybe ride height or suspension. Albert attempts to take the inside, but it's not fast enough there. Now, while this is where it gets interesting with mixed class, while the GT4 drivers are going to kind of hold up, I do see a blue flag, which means he must be a lap down, because generally they're not going to get blue flag just because they're in a slower car, so it could just be that he's a lap down. But he got out of the way, so he didn't impede Albert's progress too much, but it wasn't enough to slow him down a bit. So he's going to have to work hard to reclaim that gap because he was right there on Kyle's bumper. Yeah, already right back at it. And Kyle, I think Kyle can feel it. So we got a lap driver coming up here, so hopefully Chris sees that blue flag and gets out of the way. However, that's a rough spot right on the chicane. But he made it work. Got out of the way, didn't lose control, no contact. Oh, just a little bit off the track there, Kyle. It's going to cost him a little bit of time. Okay, I'm going to have to give these guys a break because they are hogging the camera time at this. Oh man, I can't get away. I can't break away. We're going to miss something. Albert's going to make a move. All he's got to do is steal an inside line. Oh, there. Oh, Kyle left the space, which means it took him off of his racing line, which was just enough for Albert to squeeze by as they come too wide into this first chicane, which is a very dangerous spot. Kyle had no choice but to let him by there. That was a good, safe move by Kyle. So at this point, with Albert finally getting by Kyle with a slightly faster pace, Kyle's going to be relying on the GT4 and Porsche Cup cars to slow down Albert enough so he can try and get that position back. So let's switch over to Greg and Sam, who've been battling it with each other for a while we were watching Albert and Kyle, even though they are in different classes. Greg technically should be able to get by Sam on some of the straights. Alright, Sam and Mike battle for P6 here. Oh, Sam lost it back in there. That's going to cost him some time. So I'm pretty impressed. I only see that accident that happened at the beginning of the race, which we'll take a look at after the race is over and apply the appropriate penalties. Oh no, Sam. Okay, he kept it in control, but it looked a little scary there. I mean, I got scared. I'm not even driving, and that freaked me out. Oh, and right behind him, Greg almost lost it in a similar way. There's that nasty chicane. And you can see the fun of the mixed class racing, where we have a GT4 driver that's holding up the GT3 guys. So he gets over as he should, lets him by. still getting blue flags, so he's gonna have to let Greg by here. Hopefully he lets him do that on the straight. Yeah, looks like he did. Okay, good work. See, that was, I think that was Simon in the Porsche GT4. Cayman. Alright, here we are in the passenger seat with Sam Staples as he tries his best to get around Mike Freund for P6. And you can see the sun is starting to go down there. So coming around that second turn, you guys are going to have the sun in their eyes. It's going to make watching those lines pretty tricky. And then probably in about 10 or 15 minutes, maybe. Let's see. Yeah, probably about 15 minutes. It might be dark, so that'll be fun. Oh, Sam, little fishtail there. Held it together. So here we are with Greg, seeing what he sees in his GT3 Porsche. So Sam is sandwiched between two GT3 cars. Alright, as that rolls on, let's take a look at Will. Holding P5 pretty firm. He's got a pretty huge gap behind him. P6 is over 20 seconds behind him, so he doesn't have anything to worry about there as Chris Russell allows him to get by. But he still has, let's see, about 6 seconds before he catches up to Jacob, which is doable. Definitely doable in a race this long. Checking back in with the race leaders, they have mellowed out a little bit, but oh, Kyle lost just a little bit there, which is going to cost him some time, but not a ton. He's sort of bouncing back and forth between. Oh man, that nasty chicane just tears those cars apart. But anyway, Kyle and Albert, their gaps are moving between 1 to 2 seconds, bouncing back and forth. So I think Kyle is going to hold the pressure as much as he can without losing control of the car, because for points, Kyle doesn't have too much to worry about. Oh, let's see, was that Matt? Is that Matt that happened there? Let's see what happened to Matt. Let's take a look at the replay for Matt. Oh. Looks like he just... Don't think he got tapped. I think he just lost a little bit, no big deal. Alright, so back to... How's Jeff doing? We haven't seen much from Jeff Kelly tonight. He's holding on to P3 really well. I don't think he has anything to worry about. He's not too far from Kyle. He's about 2.5 seconds behind P2, but he's got a good, 4 to 5 second gap behind him for P4. So I think Jeff's in a nice, comfortable spot where he's still pretty much in a podium position, and he doesn't have anyone breathing down his neck, causing him any grief or putting unnecessary pressure on him. So he just needs to sit back, relax, and... Oh, Jacob. Oh, yeah, that looked bad. Oh, I take it back. It's back on the track. It looked like it was gonna be bad, but he saved it. However, that did cost him some time. To Jeff, he was 6 seconds. He's now 7 seconds behind Jeff. All right, back over to the battle for P6 with our Porsche friends, Mike and Greg. Doing really well keeping these unruly Porsches under control. So if you're just joining us, welcome to the stream. This is round 3 of our 90-minute endurance series, mixed class, GT3, GT4, and Porsche Cup. Why those 3 classes? Well, that's what the drivers wanted, and that's what people like to drive, it seems like, in these leagues. If you're looking for this type of racing, we have plenty of spots open and plenty of races left in this series. It's the second Saturday of every month, with practice starting at 8 p.m. U.S. Central. So we'd love to have you come join us. Looks like a yellow, another yellow for Matt. Just having a little rough night with that McLaren. But we still got a ways to go. We still have over an hour left in this race, so we'll probably be able to rein it in a bit. Now, because of that, we completely missed the pass by Greg. So let's watch that in the instant replay. Let's see where Greg got around Mike. Here we are coming down the straight with turn 1. Oh, looks like Mike lost traction, just a little bit of oversteer after turn 1, and Greg was able to get by for a nice clean pass into P6. So now that puts Greg on a nice path to catch up to Will, who is his actual class rival in this race tonight. So, although you can see there on the screen, he is almost 30 seconds behind. That's a lot of time to make up. So I think Greg's going to need to be praying for Will to completely lose control and have to pit to repair, or some sort of other event. But we'll see what happens when the sun goes down. The temperatures will start to change, so traction is going to start to change. Muscle memory of where people are braking and turning in is going to change as the track cools down a bit. So we should see some different variables here. So, looks like the gaps have started. So, oh no, I take it back. We still have a pretty close. Oh no, okay. So we have Will trying to get around Matt Smith here, and he let him by because he was getting the blue flag, so that was good. Good work. So then Will gets back to work, knocking out those laps in his cup car. So yeah, as I was saying, the race gaps anyway are just continuing to widen. Albert is continuing to increase that distance to Kyle, and everyone else is sort of just settled in. So while we sort of watch this play out for the next hour or so, just want to remind you to head over to 5firacing.com to get a real quick and dirty introduction to the league and what our events are, how to get involved. We'd really love to see you come join us in one of our series. So this is our 90-minute mixed class endurance, second Saturday of every month. Plenty of rounds left. Thursdays, every Thursday, we have our GT3 class. And usually on Mondays, we'll have a spec series where it's either Porsche Cup only or BMW M2 only or Ferrari Challenge only. We sort of rotate, and we usually do those on Mondays, and we do a 4-round series every month, and we rotate the class. So if you like interesting challenges where you have to learn a different type of car on the tracks you're used to, I'd encourage you to keep an eye on our SimGrid page to look for our next spec series coming up. And we'll probably have some longer endurance races coming up. I think we're looking at probably a 2-hour or 3-hour endurance race, maybe towards the end of this month, potentially right before Christmas, or maybe right after Christmas. Not quite sure yet, but just keep an eye on SimGrid. And if you're... Oh, Jacob. Lost the tail end there. A little bit of oversteer on that turn. If SimGrid is not your platform of choice for finding races, I would love to hear your opinion. If you were to speak up in the chat, because we have been considering setting up some events on simracing.gp, which is another competing platform that's very similar to SimGrid. And so if you prefer that platform, I'd love to hear about it. We might see some more 5FI events there. Yeah, so... Okay, so let's go back to Sam. Looks like Sam and Mike are back at it. And remember, these two guys are in different classes. So if you're just joining us, I'll reiterate the green little triangle on the driver number or position next to their name. The green indicates Porsche Cup class. Blue indicates GT4 class. Oh my goodness. Sam, a little bit late on the brake there, causing him to forcibly go into the pits. It does not look like he planned to do that. In fact, I'm willing to bet he did not plan to do that. So I'll be curious to see if he just decides to top off some fuel, or if he's just going to do his own little drive-through and just make it through. But that's... I think that was unintentional and probably extremely frustrating if he was not meaning to pit there. Alright. Back up front with Albert with a commanding lead. A good 7.5 seconds on Kyle. And these guys had a good battle at the beginning. And I think Kyle just backed off and decided to run his own race there in P2. So Kyle's in a nice, comfortable position, because Jeff's pretty far behind Kyle. So Albert, no real pressure there unless he makes a mistake. So let's head over to the GT4 guys, where we have the Tonkin brothers, who I expected to see some battling between these two guys. Looks like Simon... Oh, I must have missed it while probably watching Albert and Kyle, or Greg and Mike battling out. One of the two. I missed Simon's pit. Not sure why he pit, if it was for damage or for something else, because it was about 39 seconds. That's enough time for tires and fuel, so not quite sure. And Sam is in the pits still. I wonder if he's... interesting. He's in there for a long time. Not quite sure what's going on with Sam. Oh, and then he just disconnected. So I guess my guess is Sam has had enough of that. And he's probably going to go break something potentially. That's unfortunate. But Jacob in the BMW GT3 is in a nice comfortable P4, and if you recall at the beginning when we went over the standings, this is the current GT3 season leader, so Jacob is well on his way to keeping... Oh man, almost was a little contact there, but I don't think there was. I think they were good. It's a pretty good pass. Alright, Mike's coming out of the pits. Not sure why he pit. Don't think he had damage. So maybe it was just fuel. So we've only been running for, what, 40 minutes? So we are, I suppose we're approaching the halfway mark of the race. So this might be where some drivers have chosen to run a half tank and top off and then finish the race. I think personally for me, I would just top off and start with the full tank and just go as long as I possibly can. I'm not sure the weight savings in a half tank is really going to make too much of a difference in a 90-minute race, but that's the fun of this, is everyone's got their own strategy. Oh, I see yellow for Will. Let's check in on that replay. Oh, looks like he just had a little snap oversteer there, which caused him to meet with the wall, which from my perspective did look kind of hard. So he may have to pit for repairs, which will be an interesting story because... Oh, well, I was going to say because Sam was probably going to be able to catch up to him, but Sam just decided to bail. And I'm sorry, Sam. I don't know if you got hit or if you're just having technical issues. But sorry to see you go so soon, because it looks like that might have been the turning point potentially for you to either catch up or get by Will. But at this point now, Will being the only Porsche Cup driver on the track, he will, as long as he finishes the race, he's guaranteed first place in his class. He just has to finish the race. And here we are with Jacob, as mentioned. This is the current, that was the current points leader. This is the newer name that I'm not quite as familiar with. Chris Russell. Welcome to the 90-minute Mixed Class Endurance Cup, Chris. Holding on to P8 pretty well, but he is being hunted down by Mike Freund in the Porsche Cup car as he gets by. It looks like he just decided to let him by, and I think he knows he's got a faster pace, and he does. Mike's running a 1:32.6, and Chris is running a 1:35, so he's seconds faster. Might as well let him by. There's no point in continuing to defend. Oh, and he's just having a rough time. That's a hard turn. You know, that turn one there. It's really easy to go wide on that turn and go off the track, as Chris did. Back up with Kyle. Still looking good and comfortable in that Audi. And he has improved upon that gap. I think it was 7 seconds a few minutes ago, and now it's down to under 5 seconds. I'm not quite sure if that was a mistake by Albert or if Kyle's starting to speed up. They're about 5 tenths off as in terms of their best lap, but you can see there the last lap for Albert was a 130.4 and Kyle's was a 130.6, so their pace is really, really close. Albert does not have a lot of room to make mistakes if he wants to hold that P1. So if you're just joining us for the stream, welcome to round 3 of our Endurance Cup competition. Feel free to ask questions about the league or the event, or even the game, or if you can't tell, should be pretty clear in Twitch that we're racing on Assetto Corsa Competizione. This is our sim racing game of choice for GT3, GT4 style racing. Matt's still there by himself. He's got a huge gap in front and behind him, so nothing really to worry about there. Jeff still in P3 since the beginning, doing really well holding on to this this position with this car. I think he's also choosing to use this car in our GT3 series on Thursday nights, so he's probably getting very comfortable with it. Running a different color scheme, it looks like, than normal, probably just to change things up a bit. And Jacob still in P4, points leader for GT3 in this series. Doesn't look like he's at any real risk of losing that. And then Will is holding on to P5. He must not have had enough damage when he hit that wall, because I assumed he would be pitting to repair, because he has nothing to lose at this point. He can't lose his class position, because he's the only one in the class, so... Ooh, that potentially looked like a cut there, but... Don't see any indication of a penalty, so it's still good, but... Still choosing to run that cup car in its current condition. Must not be that bad. He's coming up on a GT4 car, it looks like. Which I believe should be getting blue flag. There he goes. So he lets him by. Landry doesn't really have much to lose. He's got Mike behind him, but he's one lap down because he had to pit. Why did Mike have to pit? That was a 47-second pit too, so that was at least tires and probably fuel. So tires, fuel, and repair? I'm not sure. That's a long pit. So he's got a lot of work to do because he's now 2 laps down from... Oh, nope, never mind. 15.5 seconds. No. I was right. 1 lap down from Greg. That's a lot. So he's gonna be probably hoping Greg makes a huge mistake and has to pit for repairs. Otherwise, at this point, it looks like Greg's pretty much secured his P6 position for his class. We got Albert coming up on Greg Landry. So even though they are in the same class, Greg should be getting a blue flag to get over and let Albert by, being a lap ahead. So he'll probably let him by on that turn, and he does. Good work. Some classy racing. So I was wrong. I thought the sun would be down in 15 minutes when I said that 15 minutes ago. Clearly, that is not right. So maybe more like towards the end of the race when it's dark. Let's see. Matt Smith is still in the pit. And he's been in there for almost a minute. Unclear whether he's given up for the night or if he's just got some crazy repairs to take care of. We will never be able to tell from our spectator view. Probably one of my biggest complaints with this game is the spectator view just doesn't show enough non-racing detail in the pits. It'd be nice to see what is actually going on, so we could help put some context around what we see. But that's okay. This is what we got. Let's go back over to the GT4 drivers. So Simon letting Albert by. And he's got Greg coming up behind him that he's going to have to let by also. See how his brother's doing in that Cayman. Rick Tonkin still holding on to 9th. A lot of space in front and behind him. So he'll probably feels like he's on the track by himself at this point. Let's take a look in his car. Yeah, no one can't see anyone in front of him. Can't see any cars in his rearview mirror. So he's. Meanwhile, it should be noted that Albert is. I don't think I've ever seen this before, honestly, and I don't think you guys can see it in your view. But Albert has technically has the fastest lap with a 1:30.092 of the race. But oddly enough, Kyle Busch also has a 1:30.092. So they are both running the fastest pace of the race. Now, the game is deciding to give the purple lap to Albert, as you can see by that purple icon in the top left there, which means that we're talking, tiny fractions of a second difference between these two guys. So that's impressive. Now that's their best. Their last lap is about 0.2 off. So Kyle's still about 0.2 a little bit slower. Now, okay, so Greg got by Jeff, but that is only because Jeff decided to pit. So I'm not sure if he just had to get tires. That's probably most likely what it was, if I had to guess. Probably tires and a quick splash of fuel. We can finish the next 40 minutes with a nice fresh set. It's probably not a bad way to go, because Greg is not pit yet. And he doesn't need to, remember, so no mandatory pits in this series. So Greg does not have to pit. But if he's been driving that Porsche hard, his tires are going to be degraded. And his lap times are going to continue to suffer in the next 40 minutes. And that could be enough time for Jeff to gain on him. As Greg lets, Kyle by there. Let's check back in on Will. Will did pit, so we missed his pit. So you can see his car's all nice and shiny, and looks like he took tires and fuel and repaired. And why not? Being the only Cup car on the track, he can take as long as he wants in his pit, and his race results will be the same. So he started the race in P6 overall on the grid, and he's still in P6, even after a pit stop. And I'm willing to bet he's got a nice fresh set of tires and plenty of fuel to finish the race, so he's well on his way to wrapping up that. Chris Russell trying to get around a GT4 driver. I believe that's Simon in P9. So should be getting a blue flag here, and that GT3 BMW should easily be able to get by that. Came in on that little straight there, and it did. Yeah, we got. Let's see, here we have on our screen, looks like Mike Freund, Matt Smith, and behind Matt is Jeff Kelly, none of which are racing for position. Jeff is still in P4. So let's see, Jeff is almost 30 seconds behind Greg. So if Greg decides to get tires, that'll be enough for Jeff to retake his podium position at P3. And I'm not sure if Greg knows that or not. You know, it's hard to make those types of predictions when you're in the car and racing. But if he does know that, I think he'll probably do everything he can to avoid pitting and just attempt to finish the next 37, 38 minutes of the race in the current condition of his car, assuming he's got enough fuel. But with the tires continuing to degrade, he does run the risk of losing control of that Porsche. So we'll keep an eye on Greg, see what happens there. Let's see, we got, I think that's Rick. No, that's, yeah, I was wrong. So it's Simon's in the Chevy and Rick's in the Porsche. I said it backwards earlier. So correction, everybody. Misspoke. We do have a little convergence of cars here across two different classes. Oh, looks like both of them took that turn wide. Alright, looks like Kyle decided to pit. Try to get some tires. Albert has not, so Albert is still rocking his original set of tires and fuel. Alright, Kyle's on his way out. That did allow Jeff to retake a podium position. So I do expect to see a battle between Jeff Kelly and Kyle Busch start to form within the next 4 or 5 laps. So we'll try and keep an eye on that as best we can. Let's see. Yeah, Jeff Kelly. Yeah, hard to decide who to zoom in on at this point with the gaps between all the drivers being pretty large. So I'll just take this opportunity to assume we have some new viewers and If so, welcome to round 3 of the 90-minute Mixed Class Endurance Cup, brought to you by 5FIRacing.com. If you are looking for a nice, friendly, competitive league with multiple events a month to get involved with, where we do live broadcasting of all our races, in some cases live stewarding, in other cases post-race stewarding, but in all cases excellent racing with some real good classy drivers and real good people. We'd love to have you, so come on over to 5FIRacing.com and get started to figure out where you can get involved. Okay, Kyle Busch. Okay, so I missed it, everyone. And someone should have alerted me in the chat. Kyle Busch pit, not because he wanted to. Looks like he had to. He had to stop and go, which I can only assume was due to track limits. Probably from one of those chicanes, which I predicted at the beginning of the race, or before the race started. I predicted. I actually thought there'd be more than one stop and go penalty from those chicanes. It's so easy to cut that section. And it looks like Kyle just did it a little bit too much. But while he was in there clearing his penalty, he decided to take tires and fuel, it looks like. So he's got a fresh set of shoes on that GT3. And he's going to do his best to catch up to Jeff and try and reclaim the podium position for the night. You can see it's getting a little bit darker now. Headlights are coming on. Sun's starting to go down. Sun's getting real low. Alright, let's check out Tonkin. What's going on with Tom? So we've got Tonkin catching up to Matt Smith, it looks like, who is actually racing for position in the race, but not in the class. So if you're just joining us again, just to reiterate, we have a indicator there with the blue triangle next to the driver's name, indicating a GT4 class. So you can see Simon Tonkin and Rick Tonkin, the GT4 brothers. Only two on the track, and the green with Will is indicating the Porsche Cup class. So that's the best way to tell who's who, or who's in what class, more specifically. Kyle has cut away at that gap to Jeff Kelly a little bit more. He's about 4.5 seconds behind Jeff, so he is on the hunt. And each turn shaves a little bit off each time, about a tenth or two every turn. And Jeff probably has no idea that he's coming up on him. So it's probably going to be quite a surprise when that Audi comes and fills up his full rear view mirror. Let's see. Check back in on Albert, our race leader. He's got an extremely comfortable gap on Greg Landry. No real risk of losing that. He could probably spin out 3 times and still maintain that position. So Albert's done a really good job maintaining great control of that Ferrari 296. But not to take anything away from Greg. Well, look at that. Kyle Busch stole the fastest lap from Albert, probably with his new shoes that he just got. Shoes being tires, for those of you who didn't catch that. So Albert, even though he is in a good healthy lead, he's still running the same tires that he started the race with. Uh-oh, Jeff. I see. I see. Something happened with Jeff. What happened with Jeff? This could be detrimental. Oh no! It was an unsafe re-entry, and that caused. Oh, dang it. Ah, dang it, that's frustrating. Sorry, Jeff. So, looks like Jeff just couldn't avoid hitting Rick as he re-entered the track. And that's not good. You can see his headlights are flickering, his hood is sticking up. He's going to have to repair now. So during that time, Kyle was able to get by, reclaim his podium position from Jeff, but we're gonna have to take a closer look at that after the race is over, because that wasn't good. Anyway, we won't dwell on that. What I was trying to say was Kyle took the fastest lap of the race from Albert with a 129.2, with Albert's being a 129.9, likely due to the fresh tires that Kyle went ahead and put on his car because of the forced pit of the stop and go penalty. So Jeff's probably gonna have to repair, which means Jacob, being only 5 seconds behind Jeff, will definitely reclaim that position from Jeff, unfortunately. So Jeff lost kind of 2 positions. I mean, really lost 1 position from the immediate contact, and another position from likely a forced pit. I don't think he's going to want to finish the race the next 27 minutes with his car in that condition. But we're not really sure how bad it is to drive. Everything looks fine up here in the booth. So let's take a look, see if we can tell how bad it is if we take a look at his wheel. Let's see, is he struggling to keep it straight? I don't think so. It looks okay. And he drove right by the pit entrance. Okay, so he doesn't feel it's necessary to pit, or he just does not want to lose another position because he knows Jacob will get right by. And let's see, Chris Russell is the next GT3, so Will Stewart is the next one behind Jacob, but in a different class. Oh yeah, Chris Russell is 2 laps down, so he would really only risk losing 1 position to Jacob if he pit. But if it's not that bad, just finish the race, I suppose. That hurt to watch, Jeff. Sorry, man. That was a rough hit. All right, Albert's finally taken his pit stop with 26 minutes left in the race. So he's going to likely put some tires on, I'm going to imagine. And maybe see if he can reclaim that fastest lap when he comes out. So we'll see. Greg Landry's going to pit as well. I think this is his first pit, I believe. Yeah, this is his first pit, so Albert is out. Greg's getting some tires. Okay, so that did allow, because Albert pit to put some tires on, that did allow Jeff to, Okay, yeah, alright. So, Jeff let Albert by because he's technically in front of him, so he's getting blue flag. But because of the pit, that allowed him to gain a position. So Jeff's back in podium. And Jacob's hot on his heels. And let's see, Will Stewart is gaining on Greg for overall position, not for class position. So we have Will in the Porsche Cup car, catching up to Greg in the Porsche GT3 class car. So we'll have to. Oh, lost a little bit of time losing the tail end there. So we have a battle here between these guys for P5. We have a battle here between Mike and Chris for P7. And no, I guess that's it. Oh, I see yellow for Greg. No. Okay. Not sure. Probably just went off the track a little bit. Oh, because Will got by him. Okay, let's take a look. See, that's probably worth taking a look at that. So here's Will coming up on Greg on the turn 1. Holds it together real well. Ah, Greg went wide and lost it. Okay, that's what happened. So Will was able to take advantage of that. Again, not for class position, just for overall race position. And while we were watching that, looks like Mike got around Chris Russell. Oh, because Chris Russell went into the pits. That's all right. So Chris is pitting. I think he's the last person to pit. So at this point, after Chris comes out, everyone will have pit, which is it's kind of interesting. With no mandatory pit, I was expecting someone to try and get full 90 minutes without a pit. I would have put my money on Will not pitting at all, but even he pit this race. So we'll keep a close eye on Jacob and Jeff right now, who are fighting for position. And Jeff does have a damaged car, so he's going to have a lack of downforce potentially. And if the sun continues to go down and it gets dark, he may have some issues with those headlights. Excuse me, I had to take a drink there. It's been a while since I've had anything to drink. I've just been sitting here talking, basically to myself. I'm kidding. I'm also talking to the viewers, so feel free to interact and chat so I don't feel so alone. We have 20 minutes, just over 20 minutes left of our 90-minute endurance race. Mini endurance, I suppose, since it's only an hour and a half. But it's been pretty exciting with the multiple classes tonight. It's fun to see the GT3 cars have to get around the GT4 cars, and even our Porsche Cup drivers tonight have had to navigate the traffic a bit. And Sam, if you're watching, I wish you stayed in it. I think you would have had a chance. So I hope you're okay, buddy. We'll see you in the next one. Hopefully. Let's see. 44. So Albert just got around the back marker there. Let's go back to Jacob. Jacob and Jeff. It's going to be interesting. Come on, camera. There we go. Currently, this is the closest race for position and within the same class. And I think Jacob's car's probably in near perfect condition. I don't think he's had any major issues since he pit. Although I do see a few scratches on his side panel there. But probably not enough to cause him any major downforce grief. But I do fear that Jeff Kelly might be suffering some downforce loss from his interaction with the wall after that contact a few laps ago. But less than 20 minutes to go, and all Jeff has to do is just maintain that position. And he'll finish podium. We got a GT4 driver coming up. Oh, see a yellow for Rick in the Cayman. Looks like he just went off the track there. Probably starting to lose some traction. Well, no, he should be on new tires. Looks like his pit was long enough to take new tires, so it looks like he'll let Greg by peacefully and easily. No drama there. Kyle still holding on to P2 even after his stop and go, so penalty. Oh, we had a drive-through for 55. 55. Oh, we lost another driver. Who did we lose? Let's see. Rick, Simon, Matt, Greg, Will, Jeff, Kyle, Albert. Simon. Oh, Chris. No. Let's see. Who did? We lost another driver, and I'm not sure who it is now. Oh well. There was let's see, 55. Jacob had a drive-through. Probably track cut. Kyle's still holding on to that fastest lap. So that's another couple points for him. Podium finish most likely, assuming the next 16 minutes goes smoothly for him. Albert with commanding lead. He was not able to regain the fastest lap even after his new set of tires. So Kyle's still quicker. Got a yellow for Mike. Looks like he just went a little bit too wide on that turn and decided to cut some grass. Chris Russell in the BMW still in it, with no one really challenging him for his current position. Matt Smith still in it, with no real challenge to his position. So Jacob had a chance to catch up to Jeff, but because of the penalty, drive-through penalty, that sealed the deal for him, and I think he lost a couple positions having to pit for that stop and go. Excuse me, drive-through penalty, which probably gives Jeff some relief. So I think he's probably letting out a big sigh of relief, knowing that he's not at any real risk of losing that podium. Assuming no one else re-enters the track and crashes into him. I'm sorry, Rick. We'll just have to watch out for that next time when we re-enter the track. I know it can be tough. Sometimes you just can't see it all. It's easy for us in this view when we can see the whole track and all the cars around. It's a different story when you're sitting inside the car. Will still holding on to fourth, which is not bad at all for a Cup car. Mixing it up with the GT3s. Not too far off, really. You know, Will's fastest tonight's 1:31.8. That's only that's only exactly 2 seconds slower than the fastest lap of the night by Kyle Busch in a GT3 car. So 2 seconds slower in a Cup car is nothing to be mad at, that's for sure. If any of you out there have ever driven the Cup car, I think you might have a slight understanding of what all is involved to keep that thing under control. And here we are with Greg and a good solid P5. He is about 8 seconds behind Will, so it's possible for him to catch up to Will, but they're in different classes, so he doesn't need to push, really, and risk damage or anything crazy like that. Jacob coming out of the pits in P6 after that drive-through, likely for track cuts. Mike Freund. Mike, if you ever watch these streams recorded and you want to tell me how to pronounce your last name, feel free to hit me up on Discord. Until then, I will do my best. But not too bad. He started in P7 and he has ended up in P7. So and there we go. Albert, as you can see at the top of your screen, finally stole the fastest lap back from Kyle with a 1:29.2. So that's about 0.6 faster than Kyle's fastest lap. So those two guys have been going at it the whole night. And Chris Russell has overall gained a position tonight. Looks like he started in P9 and he's currently in P8. So it's not too bad for a newcomer to this series. Matt Smith, I believe this is one of our old 505 regulars who has increased a position, started in P10 and currently in P9. He does have Jacob coming up on his tail, so he'll probably let him by here. Well, maybe not here. He's going to wait till he gets a little bit closer before he compromises his racing line to let him by. And then way in the back here with our GT4 brothers, Simon and Rick. So yeah, it's Chris tries to get around Rick there. Let's see, that's turn 1 or turn 2? Oh my goodness, I'm so thirsty. Too much talking. So, looking at the race gaps there at the top left of your screen, the numbers on the far right. To the right of the car number is the gaps between the positions. So you can see we don't really have anyone close really at all. Closest would be Greg and Will. But 10 seconds might as well be an eternity when there's 10 minutes left in the race and no one's likely to be pitting anymore. So let's see. Oh, we got a yellow for Matt. What happened there? Nothing major. So we'll let the camera decide who wants to follow. So tonight we've had everyone has pit at least once, with 3 drivers pitting twice. So Kyle pit twice, Jacob has pit twice, and Mike has pit twice. Let's see, Mike, I believe both of his pits were voluntary. I don't see any penalties that were called out for him. We know Kyle had 1 pit by choice and 1 pit as a penalty. And Jacob, same, had 1 pit by choice and a drive-through penalty. But it's a good thing I didn't bet on anything, because I would have bet a couple of these guys were not going to pit at all. Potentially this track, it's a little bit tighter. You have those 2 pretty crazy chicanes. I think that second one's probably a little rough on tires. It's probably difficult to maintain tire life on this track on a long race. And we did have 2 drivers drop out. I know we lost Sam, but the second person is escaping me. I'm not quite sure who we lost, but it's definitely a GT3 driver, because we have both our GT4 drivers, and we have our other Porsche Cup driver, Will Stewart, still in it. So if you've been watching along on Twitch, feel free to call out the name of the driver that we lost, other than Sam. We know we lost Sam, which I can only imagine was a rage quit by the way that went down. I'll review that later and see if it was something that could have been avoided, or if it deserves a penalty if he was hit. Sometimes you just have a bad night, and when you have an hour left to go in a race and it's already going bad, sometimes you'd rather just call it quits. I know how that feels. So we started with a nice, bright, sunny day, and we have sunset now, but it looks like it's not going to be completely dark. I'll admit, I was hoping for a little bit of darkness, like some night. So I'll take note of that when setting up the next race. Make sure I find just the right settings to make sure it starts in the day and ends at night. Overall, though, I think it's been a pretty good pretty good race because we've only had. Let's see. Let's take a look at the incident sheet. Yeah, I only see 2 real incidents that need to be looked at. And for a 90-minute race with 3 different classes, that's not bad. I would have preferred to not see the first incident happen on lap 1. That always makes me pretty bummed out, especially in these longer races. There's just no real reason to be super aggressive on lap 1, but it tends to happen. Can't get too upset about it. So at this point, we got less than 5 minutes left in the race. So I think these guys are starting to feel the fatigue. And they're probably going to be real happy to see that timer expire and get up out of that chair. So yellow for Albert. Let's see if we can figure out what happened. Oh, he just hit that. Just took that chicane a little bit too hard, and that Ferrari was real upset about it. Luckily, his lead was to P2. Kyle Busch is big enough that didn't really have anything to worry about there, and he didn't take any major damage. So he's not going to have to worry about repairing. So he'll be able to just finish the next 3 minutes here. But just as I was saying, as the fatigue starts to set in, that's when those small little mistakes start to happen. Brake a little bit too late, turn in a little too early. Oh, almost contact there between the GT4 and GT3 driver, but they were able to avoid it. They made it work. Almost contact, but no contact. So they're all good. No harm, no foul. Yellow for Kyle. What happened? Oh, probably just off the track a little bit. I don't see any evidence of anything major. But just like I said, these guys are getting tired. They're ready for that timer. Less than 2 minutes left. Looks like Simon decided to take another pit. He must maybe damage potentially? Damage, or maybe he just didn't have quite enough fuel to finish. Either one of those. But seeing that he had plenty of lead on his brother Rick, no real risk. Might as well just tighten up a few bolts and finish it up. Alright, so probably overheard the leader being Albert. It's on his final lap. So as he crosses the finish line after the next few turns here, he will secure the win at Zolder round 3 of the 5FIRacing.com Mixed Class Endurance Cup. I want to thank everyone for joining us and sticking with us through the 90 minutes. We didn't have a super full grid tonight, but being that it's Christmas, it's not a huge surprise, but I still want to wish all the drivers a Merry Christmas, and everyone watching, Merry Christmas, have a Happy New Year. This race will bring bring us to a close for 2023 for this series. Please feel free to join us for the next round, round 4, which will be at the Circuit of the Americas, a track here in America, in January, second Saturday in January. So come sign up, simgrid.com, search for 5FI Racing, and register for the January mixed class endurance cup. We'd love to see you. We have spots open in all 3 classes. So that wraps up a win for Albert. Kyle will be wrapping up P2 here. Not sure if he's going to try and risk a crazy move to get around Greg, or if he's just going to follow him to the end. Yep, Greg's letting him by. Sounds good. It's good driver etiquette there. Jeff Kelly finished his podium. Congrats to Albert. Congrats to Kyle. And congrats to Jeff. And Will P4 as he makes his spectacular finish. P4 in the Porsche Cup car. Looks like everyone except Rick has crossed the finish line. But that'll wrap it up. So, again, Merry Christmas, everybody. Have a Happy New Year. And feel free to come join us for the next race. We got GT3 Series next week on Thursday. We will probably take the next 2 weeks off and let everyone spend the extra time with their family members, but we might do some one-off endurance races, maybe a 2 hour, 3 hour. So keep your eye on SimGrid, drop into Discord, pick the roles that you're interested in a league, and just look for any events that we have coming up, and we'll see you on the next one. If we don't see you on the grid, we will see you on Twitch. So good night, everybody. Enjoy the end of 2023.